The Whispering Walls of the Bronx, a true crime story before we begin. What you're about to witness isn't just a crime. It's a reckoning. If you seek the truth behind New York's darkest secrets, subscribe now. This story twists deeper than you think, and you must watch until the end. The shadows hold more than you imagine. The echo in the alley. The rain fell like needles on the broken asphalt of Crotona Avenue, washing thin pink rivers into the gutter. Beneath the sputtering corpse-gray light of a dying street lamp, the body of Javier Rivera lay sprawled, his delivery bag spilling Chinese takeout containers onto the wet pavement. His eyes, wide and unseeing, reflected the flickering bulb above. Not robbery. His wallet was still jammed in his back pocket. Not passion. The single precise stab wound to the heart spoke of chilling efficiency. This was erasure. Another name added to the list the city preferred to ignore. Delivery drivers, immigrants, the invisible people who kept the glittering machine running until they were ground down by its gears. Detective Anya Vance felt the familiar, sour dread pool in her stomach as she crouched beside the body, the icy rainwater seeping through her trousers. Her flashlight beam caught the graffiti scrawled on the damp brick wall behind Javier. Not the usual tags, but a stark white symbol. A crude open eye weeping a single tear. The same symbol found near 3 other bodies in as many months. All in neighborhoods like this one. Hunts Point, Morrisania, Mott Haven. Places where the city's gaze drifted away, where police response times lagged, and where gentrification's vultures circled overhead, waiting for the last holdouts to be cleared. He was 15 minutes late getting back to the Golden Walk, Sergeant Ramirez muttered, voice tight. Manager called it in, said Javier was reliable as sunrise, had a kid on the way. He gestured towards the weeping eye. Same damn calling card. The press calls him the Weeping Watcher now. Poetic. Anya traced the symbol's outline, her fingers numb. The victims seemed random. A street vendor, a laundromat worker, a home health aide, now a delivery driver. No connection except their place in the city's overlooked corners, and the symbol left like a morbid signature. A cold-blooded killer targeting the unseen. The injustice of it was a physical weight. Javier's photo, tucked in his wallet, showed him grinning, arm around a pregnant woman. Hope extinguished on rain-slicked concrete. Anya's radio crackled. Detective Vance, possible witness. Bodega owner, corner of 180th. Says he saw someone running. She pushed herself up. The image of Javier's hopeful smile burned into her mind. As she turned to leave the alley, her light swept across the opposite wall, momentarily illuminating a recessed doorway. Something glinted on the ground. Not glass, not trash. She stepped closer, bending down. It was a small silver medallion on a broken chain. Saint Christopher, the patron saint of travelers, tarnished, old, and clutched tightly in the cold, stiff fingers of Javier Rivera's left hand. He hadn't been robbed. He'd been fighting for something. The saint and the sinner. The silver cup, Bodega smelled of overripe plantains, stale coffee, and fear. Mr. Hassan, the owner, wrung his hands behind the counter, his eyes darting towards the street. Fast, he whispered, his accent thick. Like a ghost in the rain. Wore a dark hood, pulled low. But when he slipped near the dumpster, the hood fell back for a second. Just a second. He shuddered. It was the Reverend Miller. Anya felt the air leave her lungs. Reverend Elias Miller? The man whose tireless work in the Bronx had been featured in the Times. The man who ran the Haven Community Center, a lifeline for kids like Javier Rivera. He'd spoken at vigils for the victims. He'd condemned the city's neglect. Are you absolutely certain, Mr. Hassan? Anya's voice was dangerously calm. His picture is on the wall! Hassan pointed to a framed newspaper clipping near the register. Miller receiving a humanitarian award. His kind eyes crinkled in a smile. That face! I see it every day. It was him. He dropped something small. Picked it up quick, but not quick enough for these old eyes. Back at the precinct, the revelation hit like a bomb. Miller? It made a sickening kind of sense. Access. Trust. He moved through these neighborhoods like a saint, unseen and unchallenged. His center provided job training, meals, shelter, perfect cover to identify the vulnerable, the isolated. The victims were connected. They all attended programs or sought help at the Haven Center. The social justice angle curdled into something monstrous. Was Miller targeting those he pretended to help? Was his crusade against neglect just a smokescreen for his own predation? Anya felt a familiar nausea. The system designed to protect had potentially incubated the monster. The St. Christopher medal, pried from Javier's rigid fingers, yielded a partial print, not Miller's. Anya cross-referenced it, desperation mounting. The lab tech slid the result across her desk. It matched a print lifted from the door handle of the apartment belonging to the first victim, Lena Petrov, the elderly home health aide. A print previously dismissed as irrelevant clutter, but the name attached to it now made Anya's blood run cold. Officer Mark Dugan, a 15-year veteran, a cop who volunteered at the Haven Center on his days off. Dugan, who had been first on the scene for 2 of the murders. Dugan, who had reassured grieving families. Dugan, who had access to case details, who could steer investigations, who could bury evidence. Anya stormed towards the duty roster, her mind racing. Was Miller the killer and Dugan his protector? Or was Dugan the monster, using Miller's center and Miller's face as camouflage? The betrayal was suffocating. She needed to see Dugan's personnel file, his service record now. Pulling the thick folder from archives, she flipped past commendations, performance reviews. Near the back, tucked between routine paperwork, was a photocopy of an old internal affairs complaint, dismissed for insufficient evidence. A young man from the Bronx had accused Dugan of excessive force during an arrest 3 years prior. The man's name? Javier Rivera. The Haven Community Center felt different now. The vibrant murals depicting hope seemed garish. The laughter of children echoing through the halls sounded brittle. Anya watched Reverend Miller through the one-way mirror of the interrogation room. He looked diminished under the harsh fluorescent light, his usual warmth replaced by a bewildered exhaustion. He denied everything about the alley, about Hassan's sighting. "I was home, detective, praying for Javier, for all of them." His voice cracked. "Why would I harm them? They were my flock." Anya believed his confusion. It felt too raw, too genuine. The pieces pointed elsewhere. She played her card. "We found a St. Christopher medal clutched in Javier Rivera's hand. Like the one you wear, Reverend." Miller instinctively touched the chain visible at his collar. "Mine's right here," he said, pulling it out. "Solid silver, intact. I gave one just like it to Mark Dugan last Christmas, for his protection on patrol. He said he lost it weeks ago." The color drained from Miller's face as the implication hit him. "Mark? No, he volunteers here. He's been a rock." While Miller grappled with the betrayal, Anya coordinated the takedown. Dugan was on duty, patrolling near the High Bridge. The arrest had to be clean, quiet. No sirens. They found him leaning against his cruiser near the park entrance, staring out at the gray churn of the Harlem River. He didn't resist as Anya approached, flanked by internal affairs. His face was a mask of weary resignation. "Mark Dugan," Anya stated, her voice steady despite the adrenaline roaring in her ears. "You're under arrest for the murders of Lena Petrov, Carlos Mendez, Mei Chen, and Javier Rivera." The cuffs clicked shut, cold and final around his wrists. Dugan didn't look at her. He stared past her, towards the distant glittering towers of Manhattan. A bitter smile touched his lips. "You think this ends it, Vance?" His voice was a low rasp, devoid of emotion. "You think you got the monster?" He leaned closer, his breath hot against her ear, the smell of cheap coffee and despair clinging to him. "You arrested the wrong monster. The real one? He's sitting in City Hall right now, and he's laughing." Dugan's eyes, flat and cold, finally met hers. "Ask the Reverend who really funds the Haven Center. Ask him about the money that built his sanctuary, and the price he agreed to pay."